You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Rick Franzi, and this is podcast episode number 1032. As people struggle to come up with society's fast-paced, oftentimes they lose focus on the topic of retirement. While many may have addressed the financial aspect of retirement, not many have considered the emotional process behind it. And that's why I've invited author Ginni Gordon to come here and talk about the full topic of retirement, because she has a book out, her new book. Hold on a second. For those of you watching us on our Facebook live stream, there it is. And the title of the book is If Not Now, When? Ginni Gordon, welcome to Critical Mass Radio Show.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's talk a little bit, and maybe you can tell us, what was your inspiration for writing this fine book?
Well, when I retired, I found myself jumping up in the morning, getting dressed, running downstairs, and realizing that I was all dressed up with no place to go.
Oh, my goodness.
And I realized that I probably wasn't the only one that was experiencing this transition that had no name. So I discovered from some of the other seniors that I talked to that they were having a similar experience. And like we said, we had prepared financially for this time. We thought we were sitting pretty, but we hadn't prepared for the transition between being gainfully employed and essentially not being gainfully employed.
So this is not unlike conversations I've had with people who help my audience who are business owners get through the emotional change of selling their business.
Exactly.
So this is the same concept. Retirement all of a sudden reorders your meaning.
Yes.
Is that what you found?
Yes, absolutely. What I have found from people that I talk to is that we're essentially, many of us, role identified, especially in our culture.
Yes.
I just got back from Ireland, and not one person I talked to there talked about their job.
No?
But here, if you say to someone, you almost always ask someone, what do you do?
Right.
And
so what do you do?
The answer is I'm a teacher, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a lawyer, or in my case, I was a dental hygienist and a college professor. So when you aren't that anymore, how do you handle it?
I don't know. Right. What do you I'm retired.
Well, that's why I wrote a book.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you did, because I think you're right. I think people are focused, as in selling their business, they're focused on the financial aspects, but neglect themselves and the personal side of this major life change, right?
Yes. Well, a lot of people think they have this concept of retirement that says, gosh, when I retire, I'm going to take this wonderful vacation I'm entitled to.
Yes.
And I'll fix a few things around the house because I've been putting that off.
Right.
And if I play golf, I'm going to play golf 3 times a week.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the norm that I found was about 6 months. They hit a wall.
Oh, really?
And they're not having the fun they thought they were going to have.
Wow.
And I call it the depression that follows the retirement honeymoon.
Uh-oh.
So quite often they don't know what to do with themselves at that point, because what's missing is any kind of a purpose.
Uh-huh. So those are common concerns and challenges that regardless of your station in life, right, when you no longer have that thing that you identified as, now you have to find sounds like you have to find something that is as meaningful to replace it.
If, in fact, you have a way to do that. I have found that for writing this book, I interviewed a lot of people that were either retiring or had retired. And a lot of people will do a back in the day talk. Well, back in the day, I was the CEO of this company, and we did all this wonderful stuff. Or they will do, they'll sit around with their friends and solve all the problems of the world, or something like that. But to actually find a purpose takes courage.
Yes.
It takes courage. You have to go from back into the role of, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm starting over, I don't have anything to fall back on, a lot of people think, which is not true if you read my book.
Okay.
There's a lot to fall back on.
So this is, it sounds like it's almost a guidebook.
It is a workbook.
Okay.
I was a teacher long enough that I got tired of listening to myself talk after 20 minutes. So what I did is I made this a workbook.
Okay.
And it takes you chapter by chapter through all of the different things you have experienced. It starts off with, this was my job, and what were the actual talents that I learned? For instance, if I was a salesman, I'm now good at talking to people.
Sure.
Different things like that. So we make a list of the jobs, and in the next chapter, we extract from these jobs or these careers the actual skills and talents that we have because we had that job. And all of a sudden, we're looking at ourselves with new eyes. We're
Yes.
seeing ourselves as a person that has, wow, all these skills to,
Right.
to take forward.
It's like doing an inventory of
That's
your
right.
skills.
Very, very much so. Also, a lot of people don't realize there is a grieving process that goes along with a role-identified job for most people.
Wow.
Not everyone,
Yeah, I can
but
see
for
that.
most people.
Yeah.
And so we do a little work on that, you know, getting to the place where you can let go and say, thank you very much, but I'm looking this way now.
Right.
I'm looking forward.
Right. Because I think it's dangerous as we age to live in the past. If we have our glory days in the past, now, I mean, you know, young, raising kids, there's a lot of great memories that you create, and it's kind of hard to have that level of enthusiasm, maybe because we are, you know.
Yeah.
But I think you need to be seeking the. So your inscription in this book to me, which I found very meaningful, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. It says, make the rest of your life the best of your life.
And a lot of people don't believe that's possible, but
Right.
it truly is.
Is it?
And I, myself and the people that I hang with are doing that. I'm in a performing group that we do shows for seniors.
Come on.
A lot of veterans. We do a lot of veteran shows. Last year we were in Las Vegas, in Laughlin, in New Orleans.
What's the name of this organization?
It's called Sensational Seniors.
Uh-oh. Look at you.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's reinventing yourself and having the courage to reinvent
So
yourself.
one of your inventory of skills is a talent to do something on stage?
Well, not necessarily, because one of the stories I tell in this book is that you asked a question about something that didn't turn out like we thought it was going
unintended
to.
consequence. You
Yeah.
have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
January 2010, I go to a church that the pastor's wife decided to put on a play. She and another lady who wrote the script put on a play called We Did It For You. And it's about historic women that have created women's rights for women. It's a really neat play. It has a lot of good music and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I've never acted before, but I'll show up because I'm a dancer. So I'll show up and I'll maybe arrange some of the dance routines or stuff.
Okay.
Well, to get in the room, you had to take one of 5 different scripts and read it.
Uh-oh.
And I thought,
Wow.
So guess what? I picked the shortest one,
That makes sense.
stood up there and read the part of Mary Kay Ash of Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Sure.
And later that day, I got a call saying, you got the part. I said, what do you mean I got the part? I'm not an actress. He said, oh, you can do it. And so I did.
Wow.
And I joined the cast, and for about 5 years, we traveled all over with this play.
My goodness.
And before it was over, I was Eleanor Roosevelt and Billie Jean King, as well as Mary Kay.
Oh, great
So it's
story.
fun, yeah.
All right, we're talking with Ginni Gordon. We're talking about her book, If Not Now, When? The Retirement Guide You've Been Waiting For. We're going to take a very short time out here on Critical Mass Radio and Show and Podcast. And when we come back, we've already talked about unintended consequences, but I've got a lot more I want to talk to you about. Like, what advice can you give to our audience, people who want to write a book, about the process of writing a book? Can we do that when we get back?
Certainly.
All right, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this word from me.
If you are an Orange County business executive, this message is for you. Do you ever feel isolated with no place to turn for advice or feedback? Who holds you accountable to your commitments in your company? Where do you find the right resources to help you and your company grow? If you have these questions, then Critical Mass for Business might be the answer for you. Critical Mass for Business is committed to helping you make better decisions. These are groups of peers running businesses just like you, providing a great sounding board to test ideas and concepts, review plans and goals, and present issues and opportunities for discussion. The result is improved strategy, accountability, people, and execution skills. If you are interested in learning more, go to www.criticalmassforbusiness.com and learn more about our executive peer group.
Welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. Let's see. Our show can be heard anytime on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. In case you didn't notice, Ginny and I were off having a conversation. I wasn't quite ready when the show came back. Sorry about that. And several hundred former guest websites whose CEOs have appeared on our radio show. Since we started in 2009, our show reached several 100,000 listeners through the live stream here on octalkradio.net and our podcasts on iTunes and others, as well as the other channels like YouTube, etc. that we use, iHeartRadio. Simply type in Critical Mass Radio Show in your favorite podcasting software to get our weekly shows with great guests like Ginny Gordon. Ginny, I said before the break I was going to ask you if you have any advice for those aspiring authors out there. Do you?
Yes, I do. I started with just a simple outline of kind of what I wanted to say, what I wanted this book to be about. And there's a wonderful online class called CSL Writer's Workshop. It's absolutely fabulous for beginning writers because it takes you step by step, paragraph by paragraph, and literally at the end of the class you've got a book.
Wow.
So I had it, and most people have to take the class more than once that are new.
Right.
But it's just absolutely, and it's right there in your house. You can do it in your pajamas. It's really cool.
Right.
Anyway, it gives you a chance to write in a way that you never thought you could. That's what it did for me.
Right. So you had this inspiration to write this book. You found this online tool that helped you put it together.
Yes.
How hard was it after that to get it into print?
Well, I decided not to reinvent the wheel, and I hired a couple of book coaches, which are a couple friend of mine, Dr. Ann Para, and her husband, John Lunsford, both published authors.
Okay.
So they kind of cracked the whip gently over me and kept me on task. And I hired an editor because I didn't want any typos,
right.
A lady named Eve Gumpel, who was fabulous, and a publisher named Bethany Kelly, who absolutely is, made it possible for me to do this without having to learn things that I didn't want to learn.
Right.
So it freed me up to write.
So you built a mastermind group to help you get this book published.
Yes.
And do you think you'll write another book at some time?
Actually, I'm going to write another book. I've already started it.
Really?
I have a daughter and a son-in-law that lost their son to leukemia. And she has become an advocate for childhood cancer.
Great.
The name of their group is Gold Rush for the Cure. And we've already started writing a book because she received the National Stem Cell Award for inspiration.
Wow.
And
where's she located?
She's in Laguna Niguel.
Okay, here in Southern California.
I want you guys to have her on.
Yeah, right. We should.
Yeah.
We have nonprofits. Plus, I'd love to introduce her to the executive director for the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation.
She might even know
I hope she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, if they don't know, they should know each other.
Yes.
They were in that chair just a couple weeks ago because they had a golf tournament with Rod Carew, the former baseball player.
I saw that picture. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Small world. See, that's my experience. Once people write their first book and they realize they can do it, the inspiration to find other places to do good works through the written word.
That's it.
Presents itself to them.
It has to be inspirational for me, or I won't bother.
Right,
I'm not a person that would write a novel or something like that.
Yeah, this is hard work to write a book, isn't it? I mean,
it's tedious at times. You have to be dedicated, and you have to be willing to put the time in.
Right.
But this one kind of wrote itself, so I was lucky.
Yeah, because it's out of your personal experience.
Right.
Right, and the interviews that you did with other retirees. So you had this wealth of context. Again, a mastermind group of people who are walking in the walk. I believe in the power of peer learning. we can learn a lot from people who are in the same station.
Exactly.
And this is what you did with your book.
Well, and I found that if you ask people to tell you their story, they really want to tell you their story. And it's very cathartic for them, too.
Yes.
It's sort of like part of the process of getting over that I'm not this anymore, but yet, what am I?
What am I?
Yeah.
Well, what am I? Okay, well, you know, the demographics here in Western culture have changed the idea regarding aging and retiring. Off mic, we were talking about the Miss Senior Orange County, Miss Senior California, Miss Senior USA. I've had many of the ladies on my show. I've been to some of their events. It is awesome and inspiring to see.
And a lot of fun.
And they're having a blast.
Yeah.
And you realize the only limit to doing things, as long as you have your health, right, within reason, is your outlook.
That's right.
And your willingness to make a fool of yourself in some ways, right?
Well, and hanging with people that have the same positive life energy that you have. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's if you have a positive attitude, things just happen to you. Wonderful things just happen to you.
Have you believed that all your life?
No, but I certainly have believed it in the last 15 years or so. I've really attracted a lot of things I never thought I would do. Like being in that play, we did it for you.
Right.
And being Miss Senior Orange County and things like that, that someone said, oh, I saw an ad in the paper. Do you want to go join? I said, oh, sure. So,
that is awesome.
yeah,
right?
it's life is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone would like to get a copy of If Not Now, When, the retirement guide you've been waiting for, Ginni Gordon, how do they do that?
Well, you can go on Amazon.com. It's available on Amazon.com. And you source Ginni Gordon. It's Ginni.
Yes.
Gordon, and up will pop the picture of my book. And you can order it there. Also, if you want to contact me personally, you can email me at retireifnotnowwhen@yahoo.com.
Are you speaking to organizations?
Actually, it's kind of gone ballistic. I'm going to start speaking to financial people who offer the financial aspect. And I said, this is like the yin and the yang. I will offer the emotional aspect to go along with this.
Wow.
So we're talking, I've already got one seminar lined up and, probably many more.
So you really are a role model for others, right?
That's hard for me to say yes to, but even my kids say to me, boy, when I get old, I want to be like you.
How old are your children?
They're in their 50s.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, you've been a fantastic guest.
Well, this has been a lot of fun.
The time has just flown by.
Okay.
Right? We'll have to have you back when you publish your second book.
That's
Will
right.
you come back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's a standing. Just let me know when that's ready, and we'll have you on the show, and we'll talk about the next book. And nothing but great success for you, Ginni Gordon.
Well, thank you, Rick. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being a friend of the program and a part of the critical mass community.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank our engineer for today, none other than Mr. Paul Roberts, our three producers, Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, and Haley Stern. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is CEO Peer Groups, CEOPER Groups, Peer Groups. LinkedIn is YouTube, whatever, Richard Franzi. I didn't spell that right. CEOPER.
ER.
Yeah.
2 E's.
2 E's. Don't do that. Just get me on LinkedIn and you can find the rest of that stuff. On Facebook, I'm Critical Mass, and my website is Critical Mass for Business. I tell you, that little bit of the tequila I had earlier in the first segment just threw me off, young ladies and gentlemen. All right, until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Says it will pay $3.5